Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we are playing Diablo IV and we're going to be going over my top 7 tips for beginners. This list is designed for actual beginners, people who have never played the game, just started out, or maybe who have never ever played any Diablo games. Diablo IV isn't as complex as it looks, but it does have a lot to it that isn't outright explained, so I want to make it just a little easier to get into it and to have fun. So let's dive on in and start off with that first tip. So tip number 1 is fast travel. So my first tip is fast travel, and this one is more important than in most games. In Diablo, you are going to spend a lot of time looting, whether that's just while you're exploring or dungeon crawling. This will take you all over the map and can sometimes mean that you'll be really far away from the nearest town. That means that if you want to maximize your looting effectiveness, you're going to need to return to town to store, scrap, or sell your loot. Not to mention repairing your weapons and armor or stocking up on useful potions. So don't forget about fast travel. The way the system works in Diablo IV is that once you reach most major towns and some secondary locations, you can activate fast travel points in them and then fast travel to them whenever you want. Don't forget to activate them, as it is manual and you don't get it automatically just by visiting. And you can fast travel from anywhere. You don't need to be at one of these rings. On top of all of that, the fast travel system saves your spot as long as you don't leave the town you fast traveled to, so you can return to the exact place you left from and continue your adventure without a hitch. This is great because it allows you to stop mid-dungeon crawl, hop to town, sell, store, or scrap all your loot, and then hop right back in, exactly where you left from. No worrying about dropping items you don't have room for. And lastly, you can also use fast travel from the map to leave dungeons, which I find super useful. You do not need to walk all the way back through the dungeon once you've beaten the boss. Just pop open your map and exit the dungeon by hovering over the dungeon entrance icon and selecting that option. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Tip number 2, what to do with your loot. My second tip is all about loot management. So what to do with all of that sweet loot that you will be constantly picking up throughout the game? Well, the first thing you should do is always equip the best weapons and armor you have. Pick up a new piece that's better, pop that bad boy on. If you don't like the way it looks, great news. The game has a cosmetics system that allows you to just set the appearance at your wardrobe for any of the items that you're going to wear, and then they will look the way that you like. So fashion points can be totally separate from stats. With that handled, I honestly think the right thing to do with your other loot is to sell the common and magic items for delicious fat stacks of gold. You do this by talking to either the weapon or armor merchant in most towns, and you can start building your massive dragon-style gold hoard that way. But do not sell the rare or legendary loot. That stuff you should take straight to the blacksmith and salvage it. The reason for this is that the upgrade materials for the higher tier weapons and armor are much harder to come by, and this is kind of the only reliable way to get them. So when you get to the late game, you're going to wish that you had been stocking up on these materials, because they run out fast and they're not as easy to get as gold is. Aside from that, you do have a storage chest that you can use to store weapons and armor that you like, but I mostly use this storage for gems and skulls and stuff like that, so I can stock up on them without using up my precious inventory space. Tip number 3, constantly utilize elixirs. So this tip is one that I feel like a lot of people need to hear, but if you tab over once in your inventory, you'll find the elixir tab. Familiarize yourself with this tab and visit it at least once every 30 minutes. Elixirs are super useful, some of them giving great buffs, which can make a huge difference gameplay-wise. But even more importantly, every single elixir gives you a constant static plus 5% experience bonus that affects all XP gain rates. I know 5% may not sound like much, but given the prevalence of elixirs in this game, it is super easy to always have that boost active, and it does speed up your leveling. And like I said, every single elixir gives you that boost as well as their other perks, so it is a great habit to get into. And on top of that, some of the elixirs are incredibly useful and are either great for specific builds or just generally good in nearly all situations. Tip number 4, focus on side quests. Once you've gotten to Kiovashad, the world really opens up and you can do a ton of stuff. You can explore the massive world, kill tens of thousands of enemies, explore dozens if not hundreds of dungeons and cellars, complete world events, hunt down collectibles, loot until you get the perfect looking suit of armor, or make yourself fabulously wealthy. And you should do all of those things, because it's very fun and that's the whole reason to play games. But wow, are the side quests worth it for so many reasons. So side quests are marked by little blue exclamation exclamation points that you will find all over the map, and there are a ton of them. Most of them are locked behind exploration or story progression, and many will only be discovered by killing random enemies in the world or finding an item in a swamp somewhere that will lead you to a specific person who will then need your help. So you find them pretty organically, but whatever you do, don't ignore them. Side quests are fun, for one thing, many of them having unique and interesting stories with a lot of combat-oriented gameplay, typically, but they also make for a very organic way to explore the world and discover much of what lays inside of it. And, as if those reasons weren't enough, they are also a great way to gain a bunch of XP, and also rewards. Sometimes the rewards will be crafting materials, sometimes it'll be gold, and sometimes unique loot, but it's never a bad thing to get. And they also are never ridiculously difficult or too involved. So be sure to talk to anyone with a blue exclamation point, and don't forget to complete your side missions. Tip number 5, also, don't neglect the main story. This one should go without saying, but also do the main story. I don't recommend rushing it, or specifically trying to overlevel to make it easier, as the gameplay in Diablo will be about the same as it really just scales with you. But I do recommend completing the story. It's fun and interesting, and again, makes the world exploration feel a lot more organic. There are also gameplay mechanics that are locked behind story progression, and you'll feel like a real capital J jackass if you play for 40 hours ignoring the main story only to finally unlock something that you desperately wanted and could have used about 1,000,000 times before that point. My general recommendation here is, start with the closest mission to you once it starts branching out, and follow that thread to the end before moving on to another one. It's more enjoyable and has you jumping around a lot less. Tip number 6, always keep your eyes peeled for world events. This one is another one that is huge. As you travel, you will notice orange circles on your map. These are world events. They're activities that anyone can participate in. You can do them by yourself or as a group, and if you see someone else doing one, you can hop in and participate. They could be ambushes, you could be protecting someone from enemies, you could be stopping an arcane ritual, or you could be conquering a stronghold. No matter what, they are always combat-oriented and usually pretty easy. There are a ton of reasons to always do these when you see them. For one thing, it's combat, so you get loot and XP, and what's not to love about that? But also, you get a reward chest at the end that oftentimes has some pretty dope loot as well as gold and health potions. But most importantly, these events are how you get your hands on obols. Obols are a unique currency that you use to gamble for random weapons and armor at the Purveyor of Curiosities. These are shops you can find in most towns where you can do what I literally just said. The thing about gambling this way is that it's the only way I recommend getting weapons and armor outside of looting. And that is a great segue for my next tip. Tip number 7, don't buy weapons or armor. Buying weapons and armor in Diablo 4 is a waste of money and is mostly pointless. You will almost always just loot something better immediately, so don't waste your money. That money will be better saved for upgrading and crafting later, which can get expensive, so save your fat stacks for that. And do not buy weapons and armor, especially early game. However, do take advantage of the Purveyor of Curiosities. For one thing, there is a limit to how many obols you can actually carry, so if you don't spend them, eventually you'll just be leaving money or resources on the table. And for another, you lose nothing by using them here. Best case scenario, you get lucky and win a rare or legendary item. Maybe the stats are better than what you are currently wearing, and you can swap it in. But if they aren't, then take it to the smith and salvage it for materials. Either way, this is much smarter than wasting gold buying weapons and armor, when, like I said, you will surely just loot something better immediately anyway. But that is actually where I'm going to leave things for today. I have a lot more tips and tricks for Diablo 4, and I will probably make more videos like this very soon. I just wanted this first one to cover the real basic stuff that came up for me during the first 10-ish hours of gameplay. I do plan on making plenty of guides and other Diablo content in the near future, so if you're new to the channel and like this content, please subscribe and engage with the video, as that's always helpful and appreciated. However, in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.